Hi everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play On GAA with me, Seamus Brady, your host, and this is another interview, and I am delighted to be joined by Wexford hurling legend Larry O'Gorman, aka the brother. Larry, how are you?
Great, Seamus. Thanks very much. I'm delighted to be doing
No,
this interview with you.
good stuff. No, it's a pleasure to have you on. Just ahead of, we're just fresh off the weekend there, Wexford and the Dublin game and the Cork Tipperary game, all the craziness there. And yeah, I was similar, like I was chatting to a good colleague of yourself, Martin Story, there during the week as well. And we were just discussing at the start of our interview, just the level of hurling today is just crazy. Very different game from your time where, it was crazy, all running around without helmets on, etc.
Yeah, it's amazing how far the game has come. Back in our day when I started off playing hurling and compared to the level that has gone to now, and people are still asking questions, how much more can it go or how further can it go, so it's gone down to such fine margins now where, we have even players mic'd up now, and there's all sorts of craziness going on where you have selectors in the dug or in the stands looking down, and managers are looking for ideas from everyone. It's a mad, crazy idea, but the big thing I find out is the preparation that goes into the game today. It's a savage commitment. Played by amateurs but run by in a professional approach. So the whole thing is, to me, it'd be quite difficult now for the old lads like us of 1960. It's just to get our head around it. Will we be able to do what they're doing today? And maybe we would. I say we would anyway, because we had the heart and the ambition to wear that purple and gold jersey. So but today's game, it's absolutely crazy. And now what we're looking at now is, if you look at Munster hurling at the moment, it's gone to a new level altogether, and it looks like they're having their own All-Ireland down there at the previous moment. And so there's many duels and many battles going on there at the moment. But back looking into Leinster's point of view, we're definitely not up where Munster is at the moment, but we're giving our best shot. But I still think Munster is a little bit ahead of us at the moment. And the battles that we had last weekend with Dublin was something not new, but something that I've witnessed through my career as well, playing, because Dublin often caught us on the hop as well. But we're seeing a different game altogether. The skill levels, the fitness levels, and the physical side of it as well now. So it has come on leaps and bounds, all right. But that's the way the game goes, and we have to keep going. But if not, we're going to fall behind. And I think Limerick set a pattern maybe 5 or 6, 7 years ago, and I think every other county now is trying to get up to that level. So it's time, effort, and money, and heavy commitment.
Yeah, no, without doubt. I mean, when you look at it, like Kilkenny scored 226 in an All-Ireland final and still didn't win. Like that's the level that the game has gone to. But yeah, when you're talking about the level Munster's got to, Waterford to me don't look at their best this year. But then you've got Cork, Clare, Limerick, and Tip, and you're telling me that one of those teams is going to get knocked out in the first round, which is just crazy to think, like the level that all four of those teams are on, and one of them is going to bow out at the provincial stages. But I'd say in terms of preparation, like how much was the preparation in your day similar to the preparation of today? Like were there much discussions on tactics, or was it kind of more on the day type stuff? Like was it more go out man to man, you win your individual battles type thing?
Yeah, I actually remember back in 85, played minor. Back in 86, under 21, 87, under 21, and then I got called into the senior panel. And I was still young at the time. I was only 20 at the time, and getting called in. And when we start training in a Scotty, we used to go travel on a minibus, all of us together, and we get brown bread and soup after training. And then we'd head back to Wexford, because we're all on a minibus. They used to pull into a pub in Aldgate called Murner's Pub in Aldgate, and 4 or 5 of the lads would go in and have a couple of pints and a couple of large bottles. After training, imagine that, and
yeah,
there was never really a restriction on drink and stuff like that, So from that side of it, that doesn't happen today. And then you're talking about game training. The training setup wasn't as tough. You go out, you run for your 40, 50 minutes solid. You come in, you do your press-ups, you do your sit-ups, you do your burpees. You be doing skipping and everything like that. And mainly sprints. We used to do a lot of sprints, and then finish up with a bit of hurling at the end of it. So today to do that 100 mile an hour. Back in our day, we were probably only doing that 30, 40 mile an hour and saving your energy for the game. That's the way we felt it should be done. when you get closer to the game, you pull back so you give your body a rest. In today's game now, even the warm-up that they're doing before a game today, we wouldn't go through that before, at the last heaviest training session we'd have before a game. So it's very unusual, the levels that has gone into it. And I know it all plays a part in your mind as well. The harder you train, the better you play. That really doesn't sink in with me. It's all about having good tactics, having guys fit, but having a good tactic and a good setup. And if you're all playing on the one hymn sheet, there's always a great chance that you have a great chance of winning. So it has to be a great camaraderie among everyone as well when they're playing. And, fellas have to accept when they've been taken off and they have to fight their way back on. And that's exactly what happened to us when we were back and you get dropped. Management will come over and say, look at Larry or Martin or whoever it is. You got to pull up your socks. You're not going as well as you were. Put your effort in, you'll be back on the team. As simple as. And today now, we find it here in Wexford that the same guys are nearly brought in and starting most games. Conor McDonald's unlucky now because he's been targeted, pushed around a small bit on one day and off the next day and stuff like that. So it's confusing for him in his own head, am I going to start or not going to start? And that plays on his mind, am I going to be taken off or not going to be taken off? So back in our day, you would have to train hard, but the most important thing is when you get out there on the field of play, that you give it 100%.
Yeah.
There's reasons sometimes that you're not able to give it. You're tired, you're over anxious, and something's gone wrong with the preparation of you yourself, not the team management or anything like that. But when you get to Crow Park or Nolan Park or Porky Queeve, and you're not really in tune, well then if you get taken off, you can understand yourself why you got taken off, because you're not up to the level where they wanted. But today's game, I think fellas sulk a little bit over. And not only that, there's sometimes managers take players off for no reason, even though they're playing well. I don't know why. It's a tactical change or something, or whatever it is. Bring an extra defender on if you're trying to hold off a 3 or 4 point lead coming to the end of the game. But very strange the way it's all, the whole system is going now. And of course, back in our day, a cornerback is a cornerback and a corner forward is a corner forward. Now they're all over the field. You wouldn't know where to turn up.
So come here, tell me, what did you think of Tipperary's move of putting in the first game of the Munster Championship this year when they put squad numbers on everybody? So Ronan, and they did it in alphabetical order. So Jason Ford was wearing number 7 and Ronan Marr was wearing number 12 playing at fullback, and Conor Bowe, a corner forward, came on wearing number 3. Like personally, I don't care saying this, I hated it. I love how iconic GAA jerseys are. I love the centre back is number 6. I love how the full forward is number 14.
Absolutely, Seamus. I agree with you 100%. That's the way we follow it up since you were a kid. Remember when you're playing, when you're in goal, you get the goalkeeper's jersey or number 3, and you've been delighted with it. And I remember years and years ago, people used to say, every time you get a jersey, be proud of that moment when the jersey is handed to you. Remember, when you're a young lad, you're playing under 12 in the quarter-final or semi-final of the championship, and someone hands you the jersey, be proud of that jersey and wear it with pride. I was getting that since I was 12 or 13 years of age from the mentors that were over with us, at the time. And even to the last day I wore that Wexford jersey, I was so delighted, so thrilled to be honoured to be handed a jersey, because there's one day you'll never be handed a jersey. There's one day when you retire and you'll be sitting up in the stand and you'll be wondering who have your jersey now. So from the moment I started right through my career, no matter what position I played in, that's exactly what I was thrilled to get it. And, fella says, Larry, you shouldn't be thrilled. Sure, you're a natural. You should be handed a jersey every day. And I said, no, it's an honour to wear a jersey because, God forbid, you don't know what's going to happen around the corner or through a game, which happened to me in the past where I got injured. You lose out. You miss out on the next game through a long-term injury and someone takes your place and then he plays well and you're wondering how will you get back. But I spoke to Liam Griffin about this as well, especially when Liam Griffin stood up as Wexford manager. The previous managers were quite good. They were quite enthusiastic. Game plan, not so good. Game setup, not so good. It was like, get out, man for man, and may the best man win. If we get more scores than Dublin or Kilkenny or whoever you play Offaly in the Leinster Championship, if we get more scores than them on the board, if we win by a point at the end, that's a result. So where you have 30 wides or 20 wides and you still win by a point, that's a result. And them tactics that were going on today, there was none of that back in our day. There was no chartboard in the dressing room at halftime or full time or on a Tuesday night when you go back training. So today it's nearly confusing for players. A player might be after working his socks off today and his man might have got a ball and he might have touched the ball, and yet you look on the chart and he might have only be down for striking 2 balls or stuff like that. It's unfair because the defender's job is to stop an attacker from scoring. You don't have to be lording balls up the field and going up and scoring 3 or 4 points while your man is doing the same thing. To me, that's not a job done. That's only a safety net for yourself, stuff like that. But back in our day, as I said, I remember we played Dublin in Nolan Park, 1992, 92, 93, 92, sorry. And I tell you one thing, it was the greatest game of hurling you could ever play. And the reason why 4 got sent off and 1 got sent off. But it was just such a day in Nolan Park. It was an evening time match. It was just phenomenal, you know, and people gave Dublin no chance. I remember Eamon Clancy was playing fullback. McKeown was cornerback, and someone else, I can't remember the other guy that got sent off. McKeown got sent off, but he got suspended, but other lads were allowed to come back then. Tom Dempsey got sent off, George O'Connor, and a massive row. Oh God, this was great. We thought it was great. We don't see it anymore, but it was all in good heart, good spirit, you know, a couple of boxes and a couple of shoves around the place. But the atmosphere in the stadium was phenomenal, you know. And game over, right, lads? Gear, throw the jerseys into the gear bag. See you training Tuesday night, replays on next Saturday. We couldn't wait to go training, and you couldn't wait for the following weekend. And we did win by a point or two, maybe 3 points the following weekend. But the hype around it, I think there were maybe 15, 16,000 in Nolan Park for a Wexford Dublin game.
Yeah.
You know, it's phenomenal. You know, and last weekend, Dublin and Wexford in Crow Park, I think they only had 9,500. And it looks so empty and it looks so bare. So there's no atmosphere for the players to get G'd up as well or whatever the whole lot, you know. So because the championship now itself is played over weekend to weekend to weekend, players themselves can't get a chance to rest. The people that want to go to the match find it a little bit expensive to be going every week or every 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in a row. And then it could be going more if your team progresses. So, you know, there's a big ask for that point of view. But back in our day, as I said, we really enjoyed it. After a match, we allowed to go for a few pints. But when you went training, I must say the training was serious, but it wasn't done in a professional way. I often notice that, you know, the training itself, we might be doing things backwards. You might run a long distance one night and then finish up a sprint. The next day you go, you do sprints and you do a long distance. So it wasn't really managed well the way it is today or whatever. So, you know, the passion for hurling back then was phenomenal. The love of the game and everyone else that followed it, you know, there was a great bond between the players and the supporters. You know, today, because players are nearly restricted from giving interviews out and talking about the game, trying to hide all the game plan and everything that we have. But you don't have to hide a game plan. When you look at a game for the last couple of years, you know, you'll understand how a team is playing. So the opposition have a chance to look. We don't need information. We can see how Wexford hurl or how Limerick has been hurling or other teams. So you can adjust to it yourself in a short period of time. So it's all about today it's all about strength, physique, possession. So it's a crazy game. You know, I remember the great Ned Wheeler. He hurled for Wexford for many, many years, and he used to say, you know, why you run 100 yards to hit a ball 20 yards, Larry, when you can run 20 yards to hit it 100 yards?
Yeah,
it's simple.
True.
You know, he said, you know, we forwards inside, give the ball to the forwards. Last Saturday night again, Dublin, Wexford struggled to give the ball into the forwards. Well, sorry, there was no forwards there really within 40 yards from the goal. So it's very hard to do that. And no matter what was said to the players themselves, if there was a plan or something set up, well, that's exactly the way they should be working on it. It didn't happen. So, you know, and it looked a little bit boring, a little bit sort of off the pace game when you look at naturally the Munster hurling that's been thrown to us at the moment. That's electric at the moment. So that's why I feel a little bit of fear now coming into maybe the All-Ireland qualifier or something. So when Wexford or whoever comes through that, or Dublin, whoever comes through, face into the Munster teams, you know, because they are playing at a higher level. So we could be crunched very, very easily. And if whoever gets third or fourth place, as you say, at Munster, will be rubbing their hands, thinking, look, we have a team for that. Maybe Galway, they might have a little bit of physicality, and then Kilkenny, and after that, then you have Dublin and Wexford on the same level ground. So it's hard to know. Hard to judge it.
Like the way the Munster Championship has gone, it actually could be Limerick in third place.
Yeah.
Which, like, imagine, like, Dublin have been kept away from Limerick over the last few years. And, like, I'd be terrified going into that game, especially a Limerick side with something to prove. Like, that would be quite scary.
Yeah, and that's the downfall then, because you get a major hiding, it would set you back again, you know, after making great strides, and all of a sudden you fall down. And that's the way the game has been pictured today. You know, back in our day, It was knockout. Remember, it was the knockout. If you get beaten in the
Yeah.
first round of champions, you're gone. So you have the whole summer to yourself, and then you go back to your club championship or whatever. So it was dog eat dog. And I remember 91, 92, 93, we played in 3 or 4 league finals. We played Cork in the league final in 93, and went to 3 games in 93. So, so there was a great progress being made by us. So if you look at the 96 team, there was maybe 7 or 8 or 9 of that team that was playing in them 93 league finals and 92 league finals. So we were gaining a lot of experience, But the unfortunate thing here in Leinster, we were facing Kilkenny every year nearly, whether it was the first round, semi-final or final. And we found it difficult. We just found it difficult to break them down. We were able to match them for a long period of the game, but when it came to the final whistle, they seemed to be able to run away with that extra 10 minutes that could beat you by 8 or 9 points. And sometimes we got close and we thought next year we'll have them. But it's only when Liam Griffin came in and he just changed the strategy, changed the whole dynamics of how we're hurling, the way we want to hurl, how we're going to train, and how is this going to go ahead or whatever. We thought it was crazy because this is totally professional. That's what we thought, but it wasn't really when you look at what's happening today. So he took it serious, and we had no choice to take it serious. And there's fellas lost out on keeping their place in that team. He didn't dog anyone, but he put you through a training program, a training exercises, maybe a diet, psychology, everything that should that is part of the game today. He was putting through us all of this. Some fellas couldn't hack it. Some fellas say, I wouldn't be able to give that 5-day commitment. I wouldn't be able to give up roast potatoes and chips and fish or this and that, the whole lot. So he was trying to change our diet, change our program, and whoever bought into it got paid off. You know, he kept him there. He worked hard with him, and he said even after it, there was few lads that I thought were good enough to be on the team or on the panel even that had lost out because they chose other things in life. I'll give you 70% lean of commitment. How will that do? No, it's either 100 or nothing.
Yeah.
So
and then what would you say? Because that seems to be a really kind of big moment for every manager that comes in, because managers that kind of draw a line in the sand, like your Jim McGuinnesses, that come in and say, this is exactly how it's going to be because I'm going to get results. The key moment is they always have one result where it's clear something's working. For Donegal, it was beating Tyrone in that Ulster Championship in 2011, something they hadn't done in so long. That was the moment where the players were really like, okay, I'm behind this guy now. I fully believe that, in his system. That was the moment where Donegal announced themselves. What was the moment with Griffin? Where was there a game with Liam Griffin where you could feel it in the team that, okay, whatever we're doing, we're getting better?
Yeah, I was. All the exercise, all the program, all the training, all the effort that went into the end of 1994 when Clare won the All-Ireland. Liam Griffin called us in within a week or two after the All-Ireland, and he said, right lads, here's our plan. That was 94. That was when he started after Offaly 94. And then he said, look lads, we'll give this a shot. He only realised that what time and effort and commitment goes into it, that we have to sit down and readjust ourselves. So we need to improve on certain things or whatever. So I think he went to the Clare homecoming when they won at 95. And when he came back to us then, he brought us in very quick. He sat us down and he said, right lads, here's our plan. This is what Clare have gone through, and this is what Clare have been doing through their success this year alone. And we're going to follow part of their agenda because we have our own ideas on what we want to do as well. So he set up plans, he set up ideas. We got into training, very tough. But then again, he called us, you can have a drink, but if it's going to interrupt in your training program or whatever, you're going to fall behind. So you more or less tell us, don't drink. But it's up to yourself. So I think 99% of us were totally dedicated to us. And then the whole training program started or whatever. And we thought, he started in 94, but through that 95 period, we lost out to Offaly. But we also got beaten by Meath in the National League in Belfield in Enniscorthy. And that was a bit of a downer. That was really, stones been thrown at Liam Griffin and abuse thrown at Liam Griffin. And the players didn't take much of it because, they blame Liam Griffin being the man that was able to walk, but not delivering on this occasion. But I think he took it totally to heart and he said, right, we'll give this another shot. Next year is going to be our year. That's what he said to himself. But he called us into the meeting a couple of weeks later and he said the same thing to us. And he had a chartboard in the meeting hall. And everything that was written on it, I'm raging no one ever videoed or took to chartboard, because he went down step by step, player by player, and the method in where we're going to hurl and the training program for the next 6 months. He threw it out there, and we all looked at one another and said, well, lads, we won't see no one anymore now, that's it. We're all going to go into our caves and live in our caves with Liam, because that's the commitment he wants. But it was only a figure of speech, really, because we could still have a little bit of good life outside that as well. But
do you think you would have won that All-Ireland without that loss to Meath?
No.
Was that the moment where it became clear how hard you needed to work, and then you took that all the way to the All-Ireland?
Yeah. I remember we started off in the league then in 96. A couple of league games. We got to the quarter final. I think Galway beat us down in Limerick or Thurles, I'm not sure, but they beat us. And it was a serious game of hurling, and we were really hurled well, really hurled well. So we were going quite well. And even the previous game to that, we beat Limerick. And there was a little bit of hip hooray stuff going on, you know. Wexford were making progress. Everything was good, and we got beaten. Not to worry. But the minute that was over, Liam Griffin called us back into training. He said, right, lads, league over. Championship starts tonight. Get ready for action. Get ready for punishment. Get ready for grinding your teeth situation. We're going to go all out and all hell for leather. And that's exactly how it started then. To be honest, it got so serious in my head. And I know other players around me saying, wow, Larry, this is savage. This is serious. We could feel it, personally, that we were being lifted. That we were getting stronger, fitter, mentally tougher. And focus, I think, was the key issue. You know, he called me aside on a couple of occasions. He said, Larry, you're a good hurler, but you're making a lot of mistakes through the game. You don't even realise it. I said, name them. He said, every time you catch the ball, you overcarry it. You solo too far. You don't look back behind you to hand pass it back to someone. You just hit the ball into the sky, hoping that Martin Stoney or Tom Dempsey will catch it. Let's use our head. Let's use our head, Larry. If you have a space, you put the ball in low into the forwards. Drop the ball in over the half forward line. If you're going forward and someone is there, hand pass the ball to him. So it was sort of a mini running game, not like the Ben and Jerry O'Connor of Cork, where they were running 60 yards, hand pass, take it back and tap it over the bar. We were a shorter version of that. And that's what he wanted. Don't be afraid to throw the ball back, flick the ball back to someone that's loose and spare. So this was in today's game, what they're playing today, really. That's how well advanced he was in terms of, you know, getting everyone on the same hymn sheet, getting everyone working together, getting guys to mix in training. You know, back in the day, with Buffer's Alley, Ratnure, Owlert and Wexford, there was a lot of club rivalry down here, and there was a lot of fighting and a lot of unrest going on among players and stuff. That would have been old style anyway, but to get them in together, mixed together, that little bit of happiness, a little weekend away. We went down to Ballytrent, down in Rosslare. We slept in a tent all night, a big large army tent. It was the greatest fun we ever had. We had a barbecue. We were up at 5 or 6 in the morning, running on the beach, lifting weights. Back home at 11 o'clock. Now, lads, go and enjoy your family for the rest of the weekend, as he is Wednesday night again. So there's nights we went training when he said this is going to be hard. He might get us to sit down on the field and talk to us for a half an hour and send you home. So there's other nights you go up then, and he would say, right, lads, we'll have to get back up to that 80 or 90% place again. You got your break, so your body has to recover. He'd know if you're tired. He'd say, Larry, you take it easy tonight. You look tired. You're not sleeping well. I said, geez, I am. Are you eating well? Geez, I am, Liam. But you look tired, Larry. You must be doing something wrong. He said, I don't know. Maybe I'm all hyped up. I'm all excited about the whole thing. Maybe that's the problem with me. He said, yeah, well, calm down, Larry. So calm down. So it's only a game of hurling. Just calm down. So he was able to bring that to me and other lads around. I see Liam Dunn. I know he got sent off many a day. But there was times in that 96 championship, he was just flawless. Yeah. His skill levels, his determination. And there's times I see, whether it was a Dublin man, a Kilkenny man, or an Offaly man go for the ball, I nearly closed my eyes because I'd be afraid of my life that Liam would pull across him.
Yeah.
Or do something, unnecessary. But all that coolness and all that calmness was all there. And, the only one person that got sent off was Seamus Brady in the final.
Oh, that was the most ridiculous red card.
But you know what I mean?
Still don't know what he got sent off for.
Yeah, when I actually said to Pat Horan was talking to, would you believe it, the referee, I'm a friend with him on Facebook or whatever it is, and he actually was giving out about Jota, the Liverpool soccer player that kicked the West Ham lad or Aston Villa lad in the head or something like that. He said he should have been sent off, and I said, Pat, will you stop this? So he barely hit him. Go away now, Larry. Go on now. Typical Wexford. I said, go away, Pat. He said, you sent the Eamon Scallon off in the All-Ireland final for pulling on fresh air.
There you go. We'll
So I
never
just start
go away.
smiling. So, but
So,
it's amazing.
talk to me about then. So you mentioned about the training camps, and it does sound like he had built up a real good group of lads there, good camaraderie. They'd squashed any sort of discontent with the club championship that was getting into the Wexford team, and now he's hit the championship. He's beat Kilkenny in the first round of the Leinster Championship. Then you have the Leinster final against Offaly. And talk to me about that, because the Wexford team is a real story of persistence. Like yourself, Martin Story, Georgie O'Connor, like Liam Dunn, loads of lads that had been in the team for years.
Yeah.
To keep persisting, knowing that one day you would get your day. How did it feel when you got your day in '96 against Offaly? Did you believe you were going to win it going into that game?
It's funny you say that now, Seamus, because the questions was asked maybe in a week up to into the first round of the championship. We beat Kilkenny and then Dublin and then Offaly, right?
Mm-hmm.
We actually played Kilkenny, and the build up to it, Liam Griffiths, this plan was they're no different. The same colour skin nearly, the same amount of bones, the blood in their body, the very same as shoes. He said, we're the pikemen of Wexford. We remember the Battle of Vinegar Hill. He tried to put all this into our head to make us tough mindset or whatever. So he says, we have no issue, he says. We get over this. There's no problem. Now, he said, 6 months ago, Larry, when I asked you or Liam Dunn, he said, we only got so far with Kilkenny and we tripped over ourselves. We couldn't get over that final hurdle. He said, we are over that final hurdle now, lads, and we're on the straight here, he says. We're on our way into the winning post. So there's no hurdles left behind us. We've got over them through training, through work ethic, whatever did. That all the hard work is done. Now it's all about focus on Kilkenny and focus on the win. And that's exactly what happened. We went up there, we hurled. I know we only won by 3 or 4 points in the end, but we hurled as if we had better by 50 points. Just to beat them by that couple of scores. And it was just phenomenal. And, you know, I think there was only 13,500 or 14,000, which is unusual, to be in Croke Park that year. The cry for Liam Griffin was, we need more support behind this team. This team believes that they're good enough to go all the way. We want you to come with us on that journey. And all of a sudden, we played Dublin. I think there was 19 or 20,000 in Croke Park then. And that was a strange game because Eamon Morrissey and Shiner Brennan had transferred from Kilkenny into Dublin. So they were in the Dublin setup, you know, after playing against Kilkenny for a number of years, and them guys had already previously played with Kilkenny, and we thought they were dead and buried. So then they ended up making the Kilkenny senior hurling team. So we actually came up against them. And Sean Flood was on Eamon Morrissey. He was doing okay on Eamon Morrissey. Liam Griffin came over, tapped you on the shoulder. He said, Larry, I have a job for you to do, he says. I don't care if you don't hit a ball, just stop Eamon Morrissey from striking the ball or hitting the ball. So we done a swap over after 15, 20 minutes. The first 2 balls came in, I caught him, drove him up the field. And that was enough then. I think Eamon Morrissey was playing catch-up with me rather than me playing catch-up with him. So that got me into the game. I was delighted because I was a little bit lost in the area. So that took off. And it was all positive then. And everything was positive. At half-time, Liam Griffin said, that's it. We have him now. We have him cornered. We just keep what we're doing, improve certain things. He was able to talk us through the game as the game was going on, half by half, you know. So it wasn't as if he had spoken. It was 3 days or 3 weeks beforehand about this. He was keeping it fresh in our mind all the way up along. You know, if there was a water break, he'd run by you and he said, Larry, will you focus on your man? Liam, will you do this or that? So he was retuning us every time or whatever. So to me, that's one way of correcting your child. If your child keeps doing something that she shouldn't be doing, just correct her. And eventually she stopped doing it. Or sort of praise her for doing something, and that makes her feel better. So that's exactly what he was doing. So he was able to go step by step. And then we came up again Offaly then, of course. When we got over Dublin, you know, going training, you could have maybe 3,000 or 4,000 in training, which was great to see. You know, Wexford Park was open to everyone to come in just to see it. Maybe a week before then, he might just close it to give us a little bit of time on our own to do game plans or whatever it was. So the training was intense still, but it was done in a shorter capacity. So we were doing it at speed. We hurl a match. He said, all right, lads, we hurl a match for half an hour and we go home. He might only hurl a match for 5 minutes, blow the whistle, right, lads, come on, get a shower, go home. So he was playing with our minds as well to say, I know you're ready. And I'm not going to go on for another half an hour in case we pick up an injury or, you know, things might go flat on us. So he said, we'll go where we are. We're in a good position at the moment. So let's get focused on the Leinster final. To me, the Leinster final was the holy grail for the people of Wexford. It wasn't the holy grail for us because we spoke, Liam Griffin, and we, but he mostly spoke about every game that we played. He said, we're only 70 minutes away from a semi-final. We're only 70 minutes away from winning the Leinster final. We're only 70 minutes away from playing an All-Ireland semi-final. We're only 70 minutes away from playing an All-Ireland. So this thing was keep throwing back at us and back at us. So it was all rehearsed. And we were all in, as you said earlier, Seamus, we were all in it together. There was a great camaraderie, a great bond among lads. If someone hit you, a smack, Liam Dunn will go over and have a word on him, or Cluiche or George or somebody says, be careful now, he says. So you send out warning signals. But then again, you were disciplined. You held your head and you didn't get carried away with yourself. So winning that Leinster final was a dream come true, really. But we said we're being rewarded for what we've been doing for the last 10 years. From us wearing the jersey for the last 10 years, where we got no reward whatsoever. So it was a payment back for all the aches and pains that we got through. But it certainly was a massive payment back to Liam and the lads that were involved with us in '96. They got us to that area. They got us over that hurdle. They got us into that position where we went on to win it. And the atmosphere, the celebrations, everything was great. He let us go out that night, have a few drinks. Back in training, lads, on Wednesday down at the Kirk Club, we went run on the beach for an hour.
Beach.
Beautiful, through the forest and out on the beach.
Beach.
But something, Seamus, it's unusual. Because we won, we weren't really even thinking about the All-Ireland semi-final. It was just, thank God we have a cup back in Wexford, something that we hadn't had for years, And just, as I said, having it on the bus, having it back in the hotel, coming back to Wexford, going on to the local radio and having a chat and talking about it. But, and then Liam said, that's it, lads.
One thing I want to ask you about this is, Martin pointed out this. Martin said after he's won the Leinster title, basically said that the whole team was together, and Liam basically put it to the team saying, lads, okay, we have the Leinster medal. We can go on the beer now for the rest of the year, or we can go and win the whole thing. Like basically something like that. Are we happy with this, or do we want to keep? Was it that simple? Like, was it just beer or an All-Ireland title?
It was, because I remember even in the dressing rooms after it all, at the Leinster final, he sat us all down. He said, right, lads, well done. Great. Fantastic. You're going to go out here today with your head held high. People be so proud of you and all the whole lot. You go out and have a drink and enjoy yourself. But now, he says, now, stop. Think about this. We're only 70 minutes away from being in an All-Ireland final. Wouldn't that be some occasion for yous as a group of players, for the people of Wexford, for that purple and yellow jersey? He kept throwing this back into our heads again. You felt like going back out and hurling another game straight away. So that's how enthusiastic he was about it, and he brought us into his zone. Be enthusiastic about it, and I think the more happy you are, and when you're in a zone as a unit, you play better together. Everyone is confident with one another. Everyone is sharing good feelings with one another stuff, and to me that brings happiness through the team as well. And you go training on a Wednesday night, and no matter how hard it is or how tough it is, you're still going home with a smile on your face, and you could be tired. And you'd be saying to yourself, we can't wait, lads. We'd be saying this in training now as players. And Liam wouldn't be there when we're running and sprinting. We'd be saying, come on, lads, 70 minutes away. 70 minutes away from an All-Ireland. So we'd be talking about it. Liam doesn't have to say that to us anymore. But what I found also fascinating was these little posters that were on the wall that he had in Croke Park, and he had them in other places as well, about work rate, hustle, hook, block, determination, put your foot in, put your head in. All that stuff was there. So it was a combination of everything that he has put together for us all. And we had to read into it. And we had to get it right in our head, because we're all aware the further you go in an All-Ireland championship, it gets harder. Yeah. Because the teams that have come from other county or other province, they've also earned their place to be there as well. So they can't be too bad either. So we had to keep the levels up, and we had to keep everything working hard. But I think because we had George O'Connor, Story, John O'Connor, Billy Byrne, they were well-matured men in their head. I was a bit of a wild kid. I'd love to jump around the place and go wild, but I'd be very, very strict on things as well, of course, when it comes to drinking and everything like that. But I'm a bit of a wild card. I love to go in and have the fun and the banter. So, to say, right, lads, that's over for now. Let's get back to brass tacks now at the moment. And it was great feeling towards a lot. But we had Rory Kinsley, Seamus Brady, Lord Mercer. We had all them people involved, so they were selectors that gave us great advice. They were also, Liam Griffin was the man he was in the orchestra. He was the one with the stick. He was calling what needed to be moved and what needed to be shifted. But the other guys around him were also helping us along the line. So he always said, it's not me, lads. We're in this together. So we're all learning from each other. And that was as simple as it was. And I think when we were all, as I say, when we're all feeding into one another and working together as a unit, to me, that really works well. And it worked well for us. And it worked well for a couple of years after that, but we didn't get the result where we should have got. The back door came in 97. We came up again Tipperary. So we could have been there in the All-Ireland final again. The last book of the game in the Leinster final in 98, I caught the ball, I broke my thumb. Someone pulled a fella called Mark Hand for Offaly.
Broke you.
I had to go and get a pin on my finger.
Left a mark on you. Mark Hand left a mark on your hand.
But I went up to catch the ball and he pulled, and the ball fell on the ground and Johnny Dooley tapped it into net. The game was over. That was the final
98,
puck.
yeah.
98 again, Offaly. You never forget it. But just go back to that 97, we came up against Galway. Did we deserve to win it? There's question marks still in my head about it because we weren't the best team on the day, but we were determined and we were dogged not to lose us. This little thing, this inner belief that Liam had put into our heads, never give up, never give in. And this was going on, and we saved. Liam Dunn saved the penalty. We cleared it. Joe Cooney, he missed the penalty and he missed a few frees. But we battled with him. We didn't play we weren't a better team, but we battled all the way. And Liam said, look, it makes no difference, lads. If you battle and you win, you're victorious. You could be 100 miles better, or a team could be 100 miles better than you. It's the result that counts.
Exactly. And then obviously into the final. And just before I get to this, if you want to move over to your left a little bit, just if you can. There we go. Perfect. But so just you're in the final, 1996. You're up against Limerick, a team that had somehow lost the 1994 All-Ireland final. And I feel like when I watched that game back, there does seem to be this kind of attitude about Limerick that they thought, well, surely we'll win this one if we didn't win the 94 one. And Martin put it perfectly. Martin was saying, look, we knew going into this that we'd nothing to do with Offaly. That's 94. That's nothing to do with us. You had got over Offaly. The confidence that you had carried you to the 96 final. Just talk to me about that whole day, the pre-match nerves, what it was like in the dressing room. What was the atmosphere like? Was it different for the final? And then obviously your iconic moment up on the Hill 16 fence at the end of the game when you were victorious.
It was an amazing feeling, to be honest. Beating Galway in the semi-final, to come back home knowing that we're in an All-Ireland final. That's when the work started straight away. The following Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever we went back training, we had 2 or 3 weeks to plan it. It was straightforward enough, as I said, with Liam, all the way up along, planned everything was done, training, everything was perfect. He said, now this is the biggest occasion of your life. So we're going to enjoy this, he says. It's going to be nerves, tension, and everything else that goes on in your head. Your head is going to be all over the place because people will want to talk to you, meet you, chat with you. And he allowed some of that for the supporters to come in to meet the players on the Wednesday night before the All-Ireland or Tuesday night before All-Ireland. There was loads of kids in there meeting all the players. It was brilliant, fantastic. It was a real sort of a carnival atmosphere. There was no hype around about, okay, the media all got sucked in on it. But when it came to the brass tacks of having a meeting in the dressing room straight after it, now lads, that's out of your head. We're going forward from here on in. Get your head focused around Limerick. And here, he gave us little clips and little papers and stuff to read into what we need to do, what we need to keep focused, what's going to happen on the day of the All-Ireland final. What if this happens? What if that happens? So the whole thing the preparations were 100% spot on.
There you go. And that was a damn good Limerick team. That was Kieran Carey, Gary Kirby, Mike Houlihan, Dave Clark, Steve McDonough. Just
savage hurlers.
Unbelievable.
Savage hurlers. And because you're right, because they had lost out in 94 to Offaly, we thought they would have come back. Well, they did, but they'd come back with more hunger than we had, more determination and more drive. So we were expecting all hell for leather. That's exactly what we were expecting, because, you've just lost one there 14 or 18 months prior to that or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we were expecting a big bang. But I think the way we focused, the way we got around things was calmness. We had a meeting in Stillorgan Park Hotel. Sean Flood was unfortunate. He missed out on it. He gave a lovely speech. It was hard on him now, to be honest. He missed the All-Ireland final. He had broke a bone in his foot in the semi-final against Galway. So George came in to midfield and I went back wing back.
Mm-hmm.
Got on the bus.
Who did you mark that day? Who did you mark?
I started marking Frankie Carroll that day.
Frankie Carroll. I remember Frankie. He was the guy that scored the 2 goals against Tip, wasn't it, in the replay?
Yeah.
That one where Tip kind of had Limerick on the ropes and then Limerick came back and Frankie was the man
Frankie
that was
Carroll, yeah. Yeah, but
big tall fella.
Big tall fella, yeah. But I ended up going over on Barry Foley because Barry Foley had scored 3 or 4 points on Rod Guiney. So they did a swap over. Griffin came over, tapped me on the shoulder. I have a job for you, Larry. So that's what happened then. Get over there and do a job for us. So I only had about 5 or 6 minutes before half time before I could make any road at all on this guy because this guy was a speed merchant or whatever. So he scored 1 point when I went over on him. And it was funny enough because he was smiling to the guy behind me. I thought he was smiling at me. And I turned around and I said to him, enjoy your last point. You'll never score another one for the rest of the game. And I held him scoreless for the rest of the game.
There you go.
So it's just a message that I gave him, but I didn't realise that he was smiling to the guy behind me. I thought he was smiling at me. So,
and then
anyway,
of course you won, and then you ran straight to Hill 16, and then probably turned around and the whole pitch was covered in purple and gold. Like, just talk to me about that moment where you realise you're champions.
Yeah, I remember there was a free a couple of minutes to go in the game. And Mike Hula, it was the only free. Remember, we had 14 players and we only conceded 1 free in the middle of the field in the last puck of the game. And this is what Liam Griffin said, if we don't give away frees, we win the game. Simple as, because we have enough defenders to stop them from scoring. And that was his plan for the second half. But Mike Houlihan got a free. But I was back in around the edge of the square. And Liam Dunn was shouting at me to mark up someone. And I said, I'll be okay, Liam. Say, I'm getting this ball. This ball is mine. He said, Larry, will you effing mark up someone, will you?
Yeah.
We just have to clear this ball. I said, Liam, I'm getting this ball. This ball is mine. And he just shook his shoulders like that. Okay. So the ball came in and I just made a dart out the field, caught the ball and gone. And I ran up to the Hill 16 naturally because most of my family were up there on the Hill 16. All my friends, when I was a kid growing up, Hill 16 was like Vinegar Hill to us, you know, in Wexford here. So it was a great moment, the occasion. I just thought before, in the parade, when we were doing the parade and we were walking down along, I know Limerick had broke off, but we were kept walking. Martin decided, we keep going, we do the parade properly and right out to the end or whatever. But going by the Hill 16, Liam Dunn tapped me with the hurl. The roar from Hill 16 to me will never get out of my head. There was like electric shock. Something came from the hill towards us. And there was some kind of connection there with it or whatever. Liam Dunn tapped me and he said, did you feel that? There was just a power of wave of electricity that came through us. It was incredible. So that was another thing, the reason why I would have ran back to the Hill 16 just to celebrate with the lads there. And of course, when I got down to look around, I tell you what, there's no way. I would have needed a helicopter to get back to the Hogan stand to get over there. I did my best, but it took me a long time to get over there. You know, unfortunately, I didn't get up the steps. I was down at the bottom of the steps, but I had to work my socks away. It was harder to get through that crowd it was to get through 70 minutes of hurling against Limerick that day, to be quite honest.
And then obviously you capped off that year, an All-Star award, you know, and then Texaco Hurler of the Year as well. Fantastic year for yourself. And then, of course, I want your opinion on this. Martin was a big fan of this moment. I'm going to play what immortalised that entire year for you.
At the crossroads, in the shadow of a bonfire, underneath the silver moonlight, we were singing until dawn. And we were dancing at the crossroads.
Of course, the iconic. What was your first thoughts when you heard that?
Unbelievable, I swear to God. I thought I was going to be a pop star when I heard my name mentioned in it.
There you
go. I
go.
learned the words off fairly quick. I practiced it every day. I used to be a sales rep and I was going around singing in the car every day to myself. And I remember when we got home not too long after it, I think it was on a Monday night or Tuesday night, I got up on the stage and I started singing the whole song on my own. So I had the backup. The boys were in the backup room behind me. So it went fairly well anyway. I was delighted, but everyone was on the high. Everyone could nearly sing it by then, but just that great occasion, though. That's what I mean. Around Wexford that time, the whole occasion of winning, getting to an All-Ireland was a fantastic. It was a satisfaction for a lot of people, but it wasn't for us as a player because we wanted that the Celtic Cross. We wanted that.
Yeah.
We deserve. I don't say we deserve it. We wanted it more or less, because every team deserves to win a winner there or whatever. So I think we wanted a little bit more than Limerick. On the day we were hungrier, and if we sort of look back, I'm not sure what they went through in their preparations in the build up through their season, but I think ours was top notch. And Liam Griffin, he was a man behind it all with the support of the selectors and whatever. But he puts it out to the players. He says, I wouldn't have been able to do this, lads, without your attention. You did what I asked, and you received, and you achieved what you did. So there was a great, as I said, that great team among us or whatever. So the whole thing was sort of set in stone then, that we're not going to let this one get away on us. And because we were so, I won't say confident, because being overconfident, as you say, Limerick were a little bit overconfident, maybe going into the final. A lot of people from Limerick and Wexford say, Larry, Weasel beat you. You've never been there before. You don't know what the occasion is like. You won't be able to cope and all that. But remember, for numbers of years before that, we often played in Croke Park, maybe in the Leinster final, semi-final. So we had a good run in Croke Park. Unsuccessful, yes. But to be playing there on a regular basis, that's what Dublin is doing at the moment. I think it's a great idea for them to be playing in Croke Park, to get the experience of playing there. Never mind if it's 3,000 or 10,000. Get used to playing the grounds. And I think Micheál O'Donoghue was doing a great job with Dublin. And that was a great move for them, even though people might say that Wexford should have won it. It doesn't matter whether you have 30 wides or 50 wides. On the scoreboard, it counts at the end of it. So you can blame yourself for losing it. Don't blame yourself for throwing it away. So, and as I said, for that whole journey of 96 was something that we were going to be grateful and thankful to Liam and all the boys. We're great friends, we're great buddies, we get on great together. So, it's the bond that really brought us together. That the old saying that I have is, brother, when I spoke about this when we came back from holidays in Santa Ponsa in 95, I met a guy out there, a coloured guy, had a great week with him on holidays, great character, and he was a coloured guy, black guy, and I called him brother and he called me brother. So when we came back to training, I went to first day training, Liam said, how are you, Larry? I said, all right, brother. He said, Larry, no, it's Liam. All right, brother, yeah, all right, brother. And he thought it was the greatest thing ever to come into the dressing room, because you can call everyone brother.
Exactly.
It was a great thing too. He just said, Larry, keep that going. That's great. There's a great fight to this and whatever. And then he put it in, we're a band of brothers. So he kept making that word brother stronger and stronger. You're my brother, I'm your brother, we've all brothers, we've lost brothers, So the whole thing sort of mingled around that as well. So there was a lot of positives coming from ideas from players as well, of course. And of course, Martin Storey, as the captain that year, he was a great leader, great inspiration. He would talk to you sensibly, There's times he got a bit too much, we'd often say, but sure, it was only a bit of fun just slagging him or whatever. But he was a great man as well, and a great hurler. That's the most important thing, as you spoke earlier. Himself, Liam Dunn, Sean Flood, George, Adrian Fellon. You can name a lot of them guys, Larry Murphy, Tom Dempsey, all great, good hurlers. But I think because what Liam Griffin had done in the previous 2-year build up to this, we were getting rewarded with an All Ireland medal.
Yeah, and
it carried a little bit into 97. We didn't get to where we should have achieved, but we still done well. We kept that momentum going. We kept it into 98. And I think because George, Storey, Tom Dempsey, these lads started retiring, that, our powerhouse, we were losing the strength of our powerhouse. Mm-hmm. The new guys coming in were only learning the ropes. So, there was a little bit of weakness there. So that took another couple of years up to 2001, 2 and 3. We started bouncing back a small bit. But then we had the great Kilkenny team, that great Cork team. Yeah. So we were sort of blown over by them then. So we were happy. We were happy as players. But the guys, the young generation of Paul Codd, Damien Fitzhenry and Gary Laffin and Rory McCarthy, they still had another 7 or 8 or 10 years ahead of them. But I think that only had maybe another couple of years ahead of us. We were sort of satisfied that at least we had an All-Ireland medal in our back pocket. And that to me is heaven.
Yeah, an iconic year. And just now, obviously then you retired in 2004. I just want to then move away from Wexford to your beloved Faith Harriers, your club. Obviously, you spent a long time hurling with them as well. What is your favourite memory from your Faith Harriers days? And what medal to you means the most?
Yeah, well, I tell you, my GAA club wasn't too far away from where I lived at the time, and my brother was a very good hurler. He played for Wexford as well. He got a bad injury when he was 27, 28. But I used to follow him everywhere, go to matches with him, to club matches now. And I was only young. He's maybe 10, 12 years older than me. So when he was 20, I was only 8 or 9. But I was only starting to hurl then, serious hurling, when you're 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, you're only playing fun hurling. It's only when you go to your club then, you're picking up the intensity of getting to play matches and stuff like that. So at a younger age, I used to call it free hurling, free and fun hurling. When you're a kid, you can do what you like and hit the ball wherever you like and do whatever you like or whatever. It's only when you're being coached at 9 and 10. I know it's different now. They're in at 8 and 7 and 8 and 6 at the moment. But at our time, that wasn't, because there was no underage championship, only from under 12. So we were able to have fun in the run up to that. And we played mini games and stuff like that. But it all started for me going up and following my brother around and just having a hurl and putting the ball back out to the senior players and, just running around the place. And it was I just felt as if, for some reason, at such a young age, I think this is an amazing game. I just fell in love with it straight away. I often tell people I fell in love with hurling because hurling fell in love with me. And since 4 or 5 years of age, I probably carried a hurl in my hand every day because the GAA pitches wasn't too far away. Go to all the matches, So it sort of just kicked off at that. And as I progressed up along, then, because I think it's a big advantage when you're young playing hurling, because when you get into the skill levels at under 11, under 12s, you have a higher level of skill than some other young lads that are only starting. So you could be a couple of years ahead of them. And then you just progress and take off. And here's a funny one. I played in goal for Wexford under 14 in the Leinster final. Kilkenny beat us in the final. But I was playing corner back. And the goalkeeper got injured. He got hit with a hurling ball in the eye in the build-up to the final. But the Leinster final only went to the under-14 only went to the Leinster final and never went further. So on Thursday night, they told me I was going in goal. I said, no way, I never played in goal before. Yeah, Larry, will you play? I said, yeah, I don't mind. Go to Croke Park. I play anywhere. I let 6 goals in. And I said to God, I'll never play goal again. I was delighted to be playing in Croke Park, but 6 goals, oh my God. I think
I had one of those days as well.
There was only 400 people in Croke Park at the time because I was playing at 11 o'clock or 10:30 in the morning.
I had one of those as well. I played in goal. I played in goal for my club when I was growing up. I remember I played in goal against Kilmacud Crokes, it was. And I remember one play of the game, someone got through 1-on-1 against me. And I remember thinking, how have I let myself fall into this position where I basically am about to have basically a medium-sized rock drilled at my head, and I'm supposed to stand there in the way. And the fact is, you were probably playing without a helmet on.
Yeah, no helmet. Oh yeah, no, I had a helmet for the goal, but not outfield.
That just is crazy.
And
my dad's favorite expression was always, you could tell how long a hurler had been playing by how many teeth he had in his head.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I hadn't even got a helmet, so I had to wear another sub keep. There was a sub goalkeeper that didn't even put him in the goal, but he was a big heavy lad, and he gave me his helmet, and the helmet kept falling down over my eyes, so they had to sellotape it underneath my neck to try and keep the helmet on.
Like the big strap around the chin.
Yeah, they had a big plaster bandage around my chin.
Oh my God.
Really funny. But it only went to that. It was only fun more than anything else. But
I'd say that fella's confidence was absolutely shot to bits. You're basically putting a helmet and sellotape on a guy that's never played in goal in his life rather than playing him in goal.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was really, I wouldn't say it was funny because under 14, you probably don't really know the intensity or whatever's going to follow later on in life. You think going apart is like playing just a fun game again, another the opposition. But I only realised then when we got to minor and under 21 how hurling got serious between counties, because you're matured, you're tougher. And then you realise then, because you're getting older, back into the 78, 79 Wexford were playing in the All-Ireland finals, you understand then what hurling meant at county level. When I was younger, I didn't understand it because we never went to matches. We might listen to it on the radio, but I spent most of the time in the garden or out and around, and then back in my own club, as you spoke about it, going back to my own club. That to me was my life up to minor till I made a breakthrough onto the minor team. But I won under 14 juvenile and minor with my club. So, the way they said to get these guys to spot talent around the place. There's fellas often around saying, this guy has something like Martin Storey, Liam Dunn, Adrian Fellon. So there was guys saying these guys are good enough to go on to play for Wexford. And minor, that's when we were all drafted into the minor setup or whatever. But at club level, to me, to be playing with your own buddies, your own teammates or whatever, we won a good lot of underage up to under 21. I think it took us about 11 or 12 years after that to go on to win the senior title. The only one we won. I played in 3 or 4 from 91 and 96, 95, 96, and a few of them around that time, but we never won it. But in 2001, we beat the Rapparees in the final of 2001, and to me, the feeling of winning that brought me back to the same feeling we had in 96 when the final whistle went to Croke Park. We have it. Now the crowd wasn't as big, but there was a fair crowd there. There was about 10,000 or 11,000 at the county final. But just that feeling, all of a sudden, that thing came back into my head again. That occasion, that great feeling came back again, and once again the celebrations. But this time, you were able to sit down and celebrate with your friends in the dressing room, back down to the pub for soup and sandwich, whatever it was, and your family come in and sit down with you. So it was a special and amazing occasion, and because the club had been so good to me as well, to look after players very well. I still go out and I still do the maintenance on the pitches, and I look after the things well. And I coached the teams for years. I'm a selector for years with the senior team. I always try and throw it back to the club, what the club give to me, and that's 100%. So there's a great bond and a great feeling that goes on between players in general, because some players give up hurling to go play golf. They get married to move out of the parish, and everything else happens or whatever. So for me to be still involved there, I haven't moved away, thank God. I'm still able to be involved with the club and helping out with the camogie. My wife is a coach now with the camogie team. I have 4 girls, 3 are playing camogie at the moment. The next one can't wait to play camogie. So there's a great vibe around it at the present moment. So our GAA club now has been plastered by us every night, going training, So I always say to them, make the best of it now. Learn as much as you can when you're young, because when you're older, it'll come back to you that you'll only get what you put into it.
Yeah. No, well
so
said.
I said to kids, if you can soak up as much as you can, learn as much as you can, take it all on board, it'll get easier when you get older then, because you'll understand the skill levels and what effort and commitment it takes in terms of, being at the top level.
Yeah, no, without doubt. I have 2 last questions for you before we wrap it up. First one is brief. Who is the toughest opponent? Because you played against a lot of top guys like Johnny Dooley, Kieran Carey. Who's the toughest? Was there ever a player that you were like, wow, how can I even compete with this guy?
Yeah, well, you spoke about Johnny Dooley, unbelievable skill, left, right-handed, free take and all. He was absolutely a gem of a lad. So to me, he would be not a hard player in general, but a very hard man to mark. He just moves away from me. He skips away from me. He runs into the position where you're looking over your shoulder every minute to see where he is. There's other fellas like John Power. I marked him on a couple of occasions. He would stand on your toes and he would pull like a madman.
Yeah.
Naturally, you'll have to give back what you get. Most of the time in my career, Liam Dunn would have spent a lot of time on John Power. They would have worn the ash out on each other. And then I might be thrown over onto John Power for 20 minutes trying to finish him off. No way. That man he was like a chunk of a tree. There's no way you break him or knock him down. But the only way you get better him is you give him as good as you get.
Yeah.
So there was great guys like that. I marked Dermot O'Sullivan for 20 minutes one day down in Cork in a league match.
Oh,
yeah. It was like marking a big grizzly bear now, that's the truth. There's no way. Noel Hickey from Kilkenny, another fullback. That's when I got to run in the forwards on occasions. These guys, you can understand why they were top defenders. So marking DJ Carey for a number of years, unbelievable.
Yeah.
He twists you inside out, and there's other great players down along the line, Michael Dignam, Johnny Pilton, so there's major players that I would have played down through my career. The toughest one to me would have been my own club or my own county player, Liam Dunn. We battled it out on more occasions when it came to club matches, but at inter-county level, we shoulder to shoulder right beside one another. So it's hard to really judge it. Outside, Johnny Dooley was class. Brian Meehan to me was another class player. Never marked him that much, but as I said, John Lahey, Tipperary, another savage hurler, and a man that could give you a bit of stick as well. So we were always up for that battle. That battle sometimes suited me. If a man wants to fight, I'd fight. If you want to hurl, we hurl. So that's just the way it was. It wasn't anything malicious or anything vicious. But there's times you get into a game, you have to grind your teeth and see the result out. There's other games that you get in, you have to hurl your living best to try and get one over the line on your opposition. So it sort of goes and forwards and against in some games. But a tremendous occasion, to be playing in Leinster finals or Ireland finals and all that. It's hard to describe to someone that hasn't been there or played it, or someone that would have loved to be playing inter-county level, To put on that jersey to me was the most important thing in life, just to have that crest on your chest. You know, you're going out to represent, whether it's 10,000, 20,000 or 30,000 people. It was a great honour, and the buzz, whether it's Nolan Park, Thurles, Crow Park, to me was, when it was half full even, the buzz, the adrenaline that goes through your body, you know, in the parade and the build up to them games was something that will live with you for the rest of your life. You know, it's the very same, as I said, in 2001 when we won the county final, that memory that will stick in your head for a long time. Not only about winning, but the build up to win, the win in itself, and then the celebrations after it, and what it meant to people, what it meant to my parents, what it meant to people that maybe never went to matches, or couldn't go to matches. For them people, you know, it was just one of those. It was a dream for them as much as a dream for us, to be honest.
No, well said. And that was some list of players that you had to go off there. And Liam Dunn, again, like Martin's story was saying, like Liam Dunn's the first man you'd want to go to war with. Like that fella was game for any opponent at any time in any place. The final question I have for you is, like, we've gone through your whole career. What would you want people to say about the career of Larry O'Gorman?
Well, I remember a school teacher. He was down at school, Christian Brother, sorry. He died only a couple of years ago, but he had left the Christian Brotherhood, and he lived up in, I think it was Dundrum and Wicklow or something. Yeah, Rathdrum and Wicklow. And I met him a couple of years ago or whatever, and he used to always say to me, Larry, in school now, this is in school, in class. He said, you're always smiling. You're always happy. Yeah. He said, if you could carry that when you're playing the hurling, always hurl with a smile on your face. And years after that, he says, Larry, I've seen you hurl inter-county club, he says, and you're always hurling with a smile on your face. He says, in the All-Ireland final, he says, Corner forward for Limerick, sorry, I can't think of his name, it's gone over my head at the moment.
Frankie Carroll?
Who?
Frankie Carroll, was it?
No, not Frankie Carroll, corner forward for, oh God, it's gone over my head at the moment. But anyway, he came out chasing me, and I had the ball. He tripped me up and I got a free, and I got up and I just smiled and I handed the ball back to him. You know, with the pressure of Limerick only needing to score 2 to win the All-Ireland final. You know, so it was just to play with a smile on your face. And people always say, I love to play a smile on your face, but I think I like to be known as that I share the joy of winning with everyone. You know, no matter where you are, no matter where you come from. And I met so many friends through my hurling career. To me, was just an immense, whether it's Kilkenny, Offaly, Limerick, Tipperary or Cork. No matter where I go, I'd always bump into some great hurlers. You know, some lads that I'm talking going back to the early 90s, playing against Teddy McCarthy. You know, all these great, Gerald Cunningham. You know, you run away to Pat Fox, Nicky English. You know, over to Galway, you're playing again Brendan Linsky, you're playing again Donny O'Connell, you're playing again Joe Cooney, you know, Joe Rabbit. So you could go all the way to Sambo back north and up in Antrim, you know, down to MJ Ryan, Lord mercy, that played with Dublin. You know, there was a Brian McMahon that played for Dublin. You know, Liam Walsh played for Dublin. Tomas McGrain, that played with Dublin. So there were some great characters among all them teams, and we had great battles, but we'd also have a chance in life to share a drink together, which I think is friendship is the most important thing in the GAA world. If you have great friendship, you'll always have great friends for life. So I just want to, you know, to say that I got great friendship out of it, and everyone that knew me, played against me, we always had a bit of a laugh and a bit of a banter, and they never took me serious.
Yeah, no, well said. Larry, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much.
No problem, Seamus. I love to do it. I love doing it with you. All right, brother.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Take care. God bless.